Obesity is not a personal choice. You will see a lot of people in the health and fitness industry arguing that obesity and the obesity epidemic are just people making bad choices. They're eating too many sweets and junk food, too much sugary drinks like soda, and they're not exercising, preferring video games and watching TV. And while this is at least in part true, the reality is these choices are being made with huge thumbs on the scale affecting their choices. So, what are some of the reasons it's not just a personal choice? Well, the most basic one is going to be genetics. Some people have a genetic predisposition to be more hungry and to not feel full as quickly as other people. They're also going to be genetically predispositioned to not want to be as active at times, which, put one and two together, moving less and eating more is going to cause weight gain. And here's the thing. A lot of this is really just genetics and it's not their fault. In fact, it's evolution. Human beings, for the majority of human history, did not have plentifully available food. So it was actually evolutionarily in our interest to pass on genes that had large appetites and would also rest when they didn't need to be active. Because if you, for example, were part of a hunter and gatherer tribe and you got a good kill and managed to have a feast, it's in your interest to eat as much of that as possible because you might go a few days without eating again. Other issues, environmental issues. In the United States of America, where we have a genuine obesity epidemic, our environment makes it much more difficult for many people to not become obese or to lose that fat once they have gained too much weight. And the main cause of this is too many plentifully available, high calorie, and super tasty foods. And the thing is that when you have all these super high calorie foods that are very, very tasty, it's very, very easy to overeat them. If you only had access to not so tasty foods that weren't that calorie dense, you would have a whole lot less fat people. And that's very simple because there's not many people overeating salads, for example, but there's a lot of people overeating French fries and burgers. And because of this, it's very easy to overeat. A second reason, most of America is a car culture, which means if you want to get anywhere, you got to drive. So most of us aren't getting a whole lot of steps. Those of you that are more into fitness and stuff like that, you might have a step tracker on your phone. And most people suggest 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day as a good general metric. Well, most Americans don't walk 5,000 steps a day. In fact, most of them probably walk less than 3,000. So they aren't exercising enough to compensate with their higher calorie consumption thanks to plentifully available high calorie foods. And one of the last ones is social influences. It's very, very difficult for somebody that has a tendency to overeat to avoid overeating in social settings, especially when other people are eating these foods as well. And if you want to go out with friends, it's very, very rare that you're going to go out to the salad restaurant or something like that. And also, a lot of exercise things are not quite as social as what most people would like. You know what the most social type settings we can have? Restaurants and bars. And bars with alcohol are very, very high calories, very easy to overdo it and add in extra calories. Foods in these restaurants tend to be more like your burgers, French fries, and other things like that. Very tasty but high calorie foods. So it will make it very, very easy to overeat. But how do we solve this problem? How do we fix the obesity epidemic? This is a very challenging question. But the first step we have to take is admitting it is not just a personal choice. Those of you that just think it's a personal choice Many of you just want to personally shame people like this fat person in the picture. You want to morally shame them for their bad decisions and show yourself as morally superior because you're not obese yourself. But that's the problem. It's not really this person's fault. There are all these other factors. And the sooner we realize that these other factors play as big, if not bigger, a role than your individual decision making, the quicker we can actually do it. So, what are the solutions? Well, there are a lot of solutions, and some of them are better education on nutrition and fitness. It would also be in our interest if we made these healthy foods more plentifully available. I would also like to see public investment in more parks and also potentially gyms and fitness centers for people to use, preferably for free. But if it's not free, at least make it very, very cheap and affordable. And also, advancements in drugs like Ozempic. Yes, a lot of people are going to shame people for using Ozempic. They're going to call it cheating and all of these things. But the reality is Ozempic works and it helps people. And the side effects are very, very manageable. So instead of shaming people for using it and calling it cheating, maybe think about the fact that it is making them healthier by helping them lose the weight. So remember, obesity is not just a choice.